Managing Director on my immediate right. Mr. Adeyinka Jafoju, representing the Company Secretary, Custodian, Trustees on my left. I am Dr. Mrs. Omobola Johnson. Representing Meristem Registrars and Probate Services Limited, the registrars is Mrs. Mubo Olashoko. Representing the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr. Godstime Iwenehai. Representatives of the Corporate Affairs Commission are observing via the live stream. Representing the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mrs. Kelechi Azubike-Luke, who is also represented by the live stream. Representing the external auditors, Ernst & Young, is Mr. Jamiu Olafison. Representing the Audit Committee is the Chairman of the Audit Committee, Mr. Olani Dada. The registrars have informed me that the total number of issued shares of 5,881,866,000. They received proxies of 3,649,082,304 shares, representing 12.04% of shareholders. And I have been informed by the Company Secretary that we have the required quorum. I hereby declare this meeting open. I now call on the Company Secretary to read the notice of the meeting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Notice of Annual General Meeting. Notice is hereby given that the 25th Annual General Meeting of Custodian Investment PLC, the company earlier scheduled for Wednesday, April 15th, 2020, has been postponed to Thursday, April 30, 2020, due to COVID-19 pandemic, and will hold at the Civic Center, Ozumba Umbadwe Avenue, Victoria Island, Lagos, at 12 noon to transact the following business. Ordinary business. 1. To receive the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2019, and the report of the directors, auditors' report, and the audit committee report thereon. 2. To declare a dividend. 3. To re-elect the following directors retiring by rotation. 1. Dr. Mrs. Omobola Johnson. 2. Mr. Richard Asale. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolutions, which shall be proposed as ordinary resolution. 1. A. Following the completion of the tenure of the external auditors Ernst & Young, in line with the company's governance policy, the directors are hereby authorized to appoint a new external audit firm. B. To authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. Agenda number 5. To elect members of the audit committee in accordance with section 35945 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, C-20/2004. Note: compliance with government directives on COVID-19 and related guidelines. In line with the guidelines of the Corporate Affairs Commission on the conduct of annual general meetings of public companies by proxies and the need to comply with the directive and regulations of the Federal Government of Nigeria, Lagos State Government, and the Nigerian Center of Disease Control on safety and health measures against COVID-19 pandemic, the gathering of more than 25 people has been prohibited. The number of people to attend the AGM will be as approved by Lagos State Government for social and public gatherings as at the day of the meeting. Proxy. A member entitled to attend and vote at the annual general meeting is entitled to appoint a proxy to attend and vote instead of him. A proxy may not be a member of the company. All instruments of proxy should be deposited with registrars, registrars and probate services limited at 213 about Macaulay, Savoya Lagos, or via info@meristemregistrars.com, not later than 48 hours before the time of holding the meeting. A blank proxy form is attached to the annual report and accounts and may also be downloaded from the company's website at www.custodianplc.com.ng. Attendance by proxy. In line with CAC guidelines, attendance at the AGM shall be by proxy. Only shareholders are required to appoint a proxy of their choice from the list of nominated proxies below. 1. Dr. Mrs. Omobola Johnson. 2. Mr. Wale Oshi. 3. Mr. Adeyinka Jafoju. Stamping of proxy forms. The company has made arrangements for the stamping of duly completed and signed proxy forms at its cost to be submitted to the company's registrar within the stipulated time. Dividend payment. If the dividend recommended by directors is approved by shareholders at the AGM, dividend will be payable on Thursday, April 30, 2020, at the rate of 35 kobo per every 50 kobo ordinary share, bringing the total dividend paid for 2019 financial year to 45 kobo, subject to deduction of the appropriate withholding tax. Given the previous notice by the company to shareholders and investing public, on the closing period in the previous notice by the company to shareholders and investing public on the closing period for the purpose of dividend payment, the dividend approved at the AGM will be paid to shareholders whose names appear on the register of members as at the close of business on Thursday, April 2, 2020. Shareholders who have completed the e-dividend mandate forms will receive direct credit of the dividend into their bank accounts on the day of the annual general meeting, which is Thursday, April 30, 2020. E-dividend mandate. Shareholders are kindly requested to update their records and advise resident registrars and public services limited of their updated records and relevant bank accounts for the payment of their dividends. The detachable form in respect of the mandate for e-dividend payments is attached to the annual report for convenience. The aforementioned form can also be downloaded from the company's website at www.custodianplc.com.ng or from Meristem's registrars and public service limited website www.meristemregistrars.com. Duly completed forms should be returned to Meristem registrars and public services limited at 213 Abad Macaulay Way, Yaba, Lagos, or via info@meristemregistrars.com. Closure of register of members. As previously notified by the company to shareholders and investing public, the register of members and transfer books of the company was closed on Friday, April 3, 2020 to Thursday, April 9, both days inclusive. Biographical details of directors for election. Biographical details of directors standing for election are provided in the annual reports. Website. A copy of this notice and other information relating to the meeting can be found on the company's website www.custodianplc.com.ng. Rights of security holders to ask questions. Security holders have a right to ask questions not only at the meeting, but also in writing prior to the meeting, and such questions should be submitted to the company via services@custodiantrustees.com on or before April 23, 2020. Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 3595 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004, any member may nominate a shareholder as a member of the Audit Committee by giving notice in writing of such nomination to the Company Secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. Such notice of nomination should be sent via email to services@custodiantrustees.com for the attention of the Company Secretary by order of the Board. On behalf of Custodian Trustees, Ade Nkaja for you.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Just a quick correction. When I was, my earlier remarks, I did say that we had 3.6 billion shares representing 12.04. It should have said 62.04%. Apologies. And so that's what I'm trying to call it, 62.04. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen, shareholders. In view of the escalating health concerns relating to COVID-19 pandemic in the country, which made the federal government to give the directive to adopt social distancing measures leading to state governments placing restrictions on public gatherings, and the resolution of the Board of Custodian Investment PLC to comply, the Board had to obtain the approval of the Corporate Affairs Commission to hold the company's AGM with attendance by proxy. In compliance with the Lagos State Government Directive, the number of people physically present is not more than 25. This meeting is currently streamed live in order for our shareholders, observers, regulators, and other stakeholders who can't be physically present to observe the proceedings. I wish to thank the health workers and all those who have been in the front line regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Worthy of note is the insurance sector that has contributed immensely towards ensuring that those at the front line are insured. Permit me to use this medium to acknowledge our contributions in this regard in Nigeria as a whole and Lagos State in particular. Further, we would like to use this opportunity to thank the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, for granting us the approval to hold this annual general meeting. We have assured him that we will comply with the guidelines and public advisories on physical and social distancing and that the procedure will be brief. Copies of the financial statement of the company as at December 31st, 2019, together with the director's report, have already been circulated to all shareholders. With your permission, I would like to take them as read in order to save time for other matters on the agenda. Thank you very much. In accordance with Section 359, subsection 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, 2004, I now call upon the representative of the external auditors to read the auditor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to seek the permission of Mr. Chairman and the representative of the shareholders to read the opinion page as well as the last part of the audit report. Independent Auditor's Report to the members of Custodian Investment PLC.
Opinion. We have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of Custodian Investment PLC, the company, and its subsidiaries, collectively the group, which comprise the consolidated and separate statement of financial position as of 31 December 2019, and the consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the consolidated and separate statements of changes in equity, and the consolidated and separate statements of cash flow for the year then ended, and notes to the consolidated and separate financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the group and the company as of 31 December 2019,
and of their financial performance and their cash flows for the year they ended in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards and the relevant provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAPC 20 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, the Insurance Act 2003, and relevant policy guidelines issued by the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, the Pension Reform Act 2014, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act number 6, 2011. I move to page 75. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. Number 2, proper books of accounts have been kept by the group and company insofar as it appears from our examination of those books. Number 3, the group and company's consolidated and separate statements of financial position and consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. Number 4, in our opinion, the consolidated and separate financial statements have been prepared in accordance with the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAPC 20 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, so as to present fairly the consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income of the company and its subsidiaries. Signed by myself, Jami Olaki-Isan, on behalf of EY, and dated 27 February 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lakison. I now call on the chairman of the audit committee, Mr. Olani Idada, to read the committee's report.
Thank you very much. A report of the Audit Committee for the year ended December 31st, 2019. To the members of Custodian Investment PLC, in accordance with the provision of Section 359, subsection 6 of the Company and Allied Matters Act, C-20 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, members of the Audit Committee of Custodian Investment PLC hereby report as follows. We have exercised our statutory function under Section 359, subsection 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C-20 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and acknowledge the cooperation of management and staff in the conduct of their responsibilities. Okay. We are of the opinion that the accounting and reporting policies of the group are in accordance with legal requirements and agree with ethical practices, and that the scope and planning of both the external and internal audits for the year ended December 31st, 2019 were satisfactory and reinforced the group's internal control system. We have deliberated with the external auditors who have confirmed that necessary cooperation was received from management in the course of their statutory audit, and we are satisfied with the management's response to the external auditor's recommendation on accounting and internal control matters, and with the effectiveness of the group's system of accounting and internal controls. Signed by Olani Dada, Chairman Audit Committee, February 24th, year 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Dada. With your permission, the Chairman's statement on pages 8 to 14 of the 2019 annual report and accounts is to be taken as read to save time. Thank you, Mr. Mochi. Pursuant to Section 224 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004, I hereby declare that a poll will be taken on all resolutions for consideration at this meeting, except for the resolution of election of members of the Statutory Audit Committee, which shall be by show of hands. Since this is an AGM by proxy, when the votes of the proxy forms duly submitted have been collected by the registrars, the registrar will share the result of each resolution. We now continue with item 1 on the agenda, which is to receive the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019, and the report of the directors' audit report and the audit committee reports. I therefore, in accordance with the provision of Section 345, subsection 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004, lay before members the financial statements as required under Section 334, subsection 1 and 2 Act for the year ended December 31st, 2019. The Managing Director and I shall be pleased to answer questions which you may have on the report and accounts before we proceed to the next item of the business. Yes, Mr. Akilade.
Board members, regulatory authorities here present, good morning. My name again is Matthew Akinlade. There's nothing more to say than to congratulate the board and management for another successful year, a very difficult year indeed, 2019, and that you are able to hold your head above the water. It is good performance, and I say congratulations. Looking at your gross revenue, despite the difficulties, you were able to grow it by 22%. But unfortunately, the group profit after tax dropped from 7.1 billion to 6 billion. But despite that, you still pay, you recommended same dividend that you paid last year for this year, which means Custodian is an investment-friendly company. Thank you for this. I have an observation on the segment reporting. I look at the non-life business, which returned a profit of 3.8 billion the previous year, just returning 2.9 billion. And I look at it that what could cause this sharp drop in profit. I look at the operating expenses, it grew by 50% from 34 billion the previous year to 51 billion. And looking further to what is the item that caused this, the claim is about double the previous year, from 15 billion the previous year to 28 billion. Do we have a special reason for this? Is it a disaster that happened, or how did we come about this? Other issue I want explanation for is on the statutory capitalization expenses, which is 189.5 million. I want to know what is this for. Again, I want to know how far you have gone in your recapitalization process for your insurance business to meet NICOM's requirement by December this year. I want to commend your CSR program. What you have done with the public library at Ilukweju, especially providing solar energy to power the complex. Probably you can also cascade that to your office, because the way power supply is today, I think people have to start looking inward, how to provide constant power for themselves and at cost-effective rate. And then the training that you did for our young people, you have a lot of young men leaving school without job and trying to give them technical skill. You did 45 of that, which is also commendable. And what you did in terms of donation of blood to patients in hospitals, especially cancer patients. Going through the chairman's report, the chairman alluded to the fact that oil price in Nigerian budget was benchmarked at $57, and she further said the current price is trending at $54. I think the chairman's statement might have been written some months ago, because today oil price is below $30. And I think the Nigerian budget too has been reviewed at a price of $30. Yeah, for us, I think we should brace up for a difficult year. The COVID-19 is one of the factors. Demand for oil is going down. At a point, I learned that Nigeria has about 50 vessels hovering in the water without buyer for our fuel, which means, yeah, I think they say things have improved, but I think it has not got to where it's supposed to be. So What does this mean for us? It's going to be a difficult year. Before Nigerian economy come back fully to work, will take some time. And all this will take its toll on the economy. We are an investment company. Our risk and management arm should brace up and be proactive in their investment appraisal to ensure that we don't put our money in banks that are not doing well. And even other form of investment have to be critically appraised. So I want to say thank you. I know this is a special proximity. I would not like to take your time, and probably there are other people that want to talk. Thank you. I wish our company the very best in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akinlade. I think we'll take all the questions before we respond. So, Mr. Adeleke, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Lady Chairperson, good afternoon, directors, distinguished shareholders. My name Adebayo Adetunji Adeleke. I want to commend our company, our directors. I want to commend the management and the staff. And I want to align myself with the last speaker that 2019 was actually a very challenging year. But all glory be to God, we were able to navigate it. And more importantly, I want to commend the MD and the company secretary for the efforts they have put in place to ensure that this meeting is held today. Quite a lot of shareholders have been quite agitated because we had a lockdown that was ill prepared for, and people were not getting palliatives. And so the only means by which they could get legitimate income is from their investment. And if AGMs are not held and dividends are not declared, it becomes a very big challenge for them to be able to live through these difficult times. So as I'm thanking the management for their persistence in holding this AGM, I'm also thanking the Lagos State government for giving us the leeway to be able to hold this meeting. I believe that immediately after now, the dividends, once approved, will be credited to shareholders' account. And that's going to be a great relief because we are passing through very, very challenging times. I have an observation on the agenda, and it's an advice to the management on page 4, that the issue of appointing a new external auditor to replace the outgoing one, for those who are rotating out, is not left only for the directors. According to KAMA, it's one of the duties that we've got to carry the members of the audit committee along. So they are statutorily given a duty to perform. I just want to point that out for the records. For our results, not only were we able to grow the revenue by 22%, we were also able to grow our total assets by 20% from 98 billion naira the previous year to 118 billion in the year under review. And as far as the shareholders are concerned, their wealth, the shareholders' funds, also increased by 9% from 41.5% to 41.5 billion the previous year to 45 billion in the year under review. Mr. Chairman, if we had a little dip in our profit after tax from 7 billion to 6 billion naira, it is because we have a combination of factors that were outside of our control. Last year, the kind of loss that we experience in the capital market, the kind of dip that we experience in the money market in terms of interest, and the kind of stability that we also saw in the exchange rate. They are all combining factors that put us in the situation where we found ourselves. But the hope is that in spite of the challenges of the year 2020, we trust that management will be able to navigate the troubled waters. Come to think of it, that is why they are called management. So they must learn how to manage, because shareholders will not give up on demanding for good returns on investment. We are in the business of ensuring risk, largely our principal subsidiaries. And so we can't run away from paying claims once they are legitimate, because that is the basis of our business. And this business is built on trust. So once a particular risk crystallizes, we are duty bound to pay claims. And these things vary year in and year out. And nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. But be that as it may, I'm sure we have quite a lot of schemes in place to ensure that we only pay very genuine claims. On page 26, Mr. Chairman, I noticed that amongst our major shareholders, there was an exit of 2 of our institutional shareholders. That's Abraj and Stanbic IBTC nominees. I would like you to let us know why the exit, so that we can be rest assured that all is well. On page 33, we have the unclaimed dividends notching up towards 805 million naira. We want you to please publish the names of the people. It is not sufficient to say, oh, we are unable to trace their address, as it is stated in the annual report and account. Let's take at least 3 years that are close to being statute barred, maybe the 10th, 11th, and the 12th, and publish the names. Maybe they may see these things, or somebody who is related to them may see it, because it is good to always give people return of their investment. Please, let's make an effort to do that. Page 48, board attendance. Said to whom much is given, much is expected. I want to also say that the board has done excellently well. This is a score sheet that shows 100% maximum attendance. And I think we need to commend our directors for paying so much attention to the business at hand. Let me mention this as a note of caution. Page 325. We have gone into a very great length to talk about our sustainability policy. But when you get to page 325, we have diversity in the workplace. I want to advise that going forward, we should avoid classification of staff based on religion. We should try as much as possible to avoid it. And having said that, on the corporate social responsibility, page 308 is where I'll be dropping the microphone. Page 308, we have Custodian Mentor Conference. I want to advise those who will go ahead to continue with the Mentors Conference that there's a need now, more than ever before, to pay attention to the boy child, because our society is heading for the rocks. over the past number of years, we have paid attention to the girl child, the girl child, the girl child. I tell you, the boys are no longer staying in school. So the pendulum is swinging and is beginning to tilt towards the boys being under-mentored, being disadvantaged. Mr. Chairman, I got to a school, a class of 47, and there were only about 7 or 6 boys. And I asked the principal, he said, no, that is the pattern. So over the past 4 or 5 years, that is the pattern. The boys are no longer staying in school. So who is going to marry these girls? As we speak today, you and I know that all the biggest banks in Nigeria are headed by females. So we are, in an attempt to promote the female, we are beginning, he said the male are now disadvantaged or neglected. So please, let's help and maintain a gender balance so that the future of even the girl child will be assured with the assurance of the boy child future also being assured. So I want to thank you very much, and I want to wish our company all the best in the year 2020. Thank you, and God bless you.
congratulate the management and staff of this company and do everything to give us hope, because we believe in Custodian, that our investment will not be lost in Custodian. And the company secretary who did everything possible to get in touch with some of us here. So once again, may God continue to guide us, protect us from coronavirus. In Nigeria, we have Corona School, and we have actually been graduating people from Corona. Therefore, the coronavirus will also be defeated and will move out of the midst of the inhabitants of this earth. And I believe that the repetition of 1918 will never happen in this war. It's already tamed by the grace of God. So thank you very much for the opportunity of speaking at this AGM. God bless all of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Umosu. And thank you all for your questions, which we will answer in a minute. I just want to, you have made a number of proposals and suggestions, and we note the observation about seeking authorization to appoint a new auditor, and that's one of the agenda items for this meeting. So we'll be seeking your approval to, or your authorization to appoint a new auditor. We note the comments around the classification of, based on just trying to talk about our diversity. We also note your comments made by a couple of shareholders on attention to the boy child. But I would like to say, as you know, as a female chairperson of this board, and also as a very prominent member of a women organization, we're very far from gender equality in the workplace. So we'll continue to work with the women, but we'll also continue to work with the men. But there's the equality is nowhere near where it should be. But we note your comments around paying attention to the boy child as well. And thank you for your comments on our mentorship program, which is actually a very important program. We note your comments on the publishing of unclaimed dividends, publishing the names of people that have not claimed their dividends on the website, and we will work internally to see how that can be done. We also note your comments on, very important comment by Mr. Nwosu on the pressure on insurance companies in the light of the challenges that COVID-19 will place on businesses all across the world, and how are we preparing for that. We also note your comments on what we've done to support individuals, governments around the issue of COVID-19. And I would like the MD to talk about that, because we have been actually very active and quite prominent in our support to both individuals and government as regards to what difficulties we will all face as COVID-19 takes its toll on economies and on health. I'm going to pass it on to the MD now to answer the number of questions that were raised on the financial performance of the non-life business, on the exit of our 2 institutional investors, and also noting Mr. Nona's comment around maybe there's an opportunity to have minority representation on the board. And also, I think questions have been raised on interim and final dividends, and I think just to, I'll ask the MD will respond to that. But just to let you know that we do work very hard to implement a dividend policy that ensures that we do pay good dividends, but we also retain enough earnings to continue to grow your company and deliver a good performance over time. With that,
this opportunity. I want to thank nice remarks that you've passed on to the board and to the management of the company. As you have rightly observed, we had a drop in our non-life business, which typically is the flagship of the group in terms of its profits. And you did observe rightly that we had increases in claims because the business that we do is a business that is cyclical. We do try our best to ensure that we protect our balance sheet by having adequate reinsurance as well as reserves. But it is our responsibility, and we are obligated to pay claims as and when they fall due if they are genuine. Part of the reasons also is the fact that in 2018 we had an extraordinary income in the area of foreign exchange earnings, which we didn't have in 2019. The statutory payment of 189 million is as a result of the increase in capital for the two subsidiaries, the life business and the general business, in response to the regulator's requirement that the authorized capital of the company should increase. We had thought that we would get some kind of palliatives in regards to this, which I think was the case with the banking industry when they had to increase capital. But that has not been the case as at now. I believe we are still hopeful that maybe something could come up and we could get a rebate on this. The recapitalization exercise is in progress, and when I say it's in progress, we don't have any challenge. We are already where we should be for the two companies, both the life business and the non-life business. So as we speak, your company is actually in a position to actually go on, without necessarily raising additional capital for the purpose of recapitalization. However, I think I'll take that question when I'm answering Nona's question, so I don't digress. Thank you for the issue of the CSR. And with respect to the oil drop, the price of oil, and the response concerning COVID, I can assure you that we're very mindful of all this, and we're working round the clock to ensure that we have a stable result across the year. It is really very tough times, as we're all aware, really tough times. And the path that we're all treading is unpredictable. We've never gone this route before. But like Mr. Adeleke has said, we're managers. And as a manager, we have to plan scenarios. We have to look at what ifs. What if this worst case scenario happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? I think that's the way we've been approaching it. And we're hopeful that our strategy at the end of the day will work. And moving to Mr. Adeleke's points. Abraj and Stanbic IBTC. Well, Stanbic, they are investors. Abraj originally was a strategic investor in Custodian. They had a convertible, and they converted the convertible to shares. That was about 3 or 4, 5 years ago. So they are at liberty to dispense with the investments as and how they feel due, necessary. So the issue of Stanbic is a nominee, it's Stanbic nominees. So they hold a portfolio of investors of different shareholders. It may not necessarily be 1 or 2 or 3. So it's not Stanbic nominees that exited, it's the various investees in their nominees that exited. The unclaimed dividend, your point has been noted, and I can assure you that the registrars will continue to try to get in touch with the various shareholders that have dividends with us. The company secretary and Meristem will look into this and will continue to put a lot of pressure to ensure that we have enough visibility in terms of those dividends that shareholders will be able to access, or maybe people that know their names will be able to access it. So that point is noted. Then I'll talk to Mr. Nona's points. Mr. Nona Awu. We've also noted the same points concerning the unclaimed dividends and the fact that effectively what you're saying is that if we don't act fast, we, shareholders lose money, in a nutshell. So shareholders have lost 12 million because certain shareholders were not able to get their dividends, and it has become statute barred. We've noted that, and we'll work on that. We've noted your point on interim dividends, and we will work to see how we can further get better improvement with regards to our strategy around that. With regards to what we have done as an industry, I think that's why I said I would answer this. The insurance industry, as a matter of fact, for the very first time, at least in my own living memory of being in the industry for over 35 years, has had the president actually mention insurance in his speech. Insurance was actually mentioned in the president's speech, congratulating the industry and thanking them for providing insurance for the frontline health workers. And I think that's because the gesture that the industry put together really has gone a long way, not only in making the federal government of Nigeria look responsible with regards to looking after their health workers, but also, but more importantly, giving assurance and confidence to those health workers that as they go to the battlefield, if anything should happen to them, their families, their children are protected with the cover that is in place. And I think that is very, very significant, because you hear workers say things like, if anything should happen to me here, government won't remember me. So with this cover, which essentially covers 5,000 national health workers across all the 36 states, I think the industry has done a lot. Now, if you, Mr. Awo, who I know is an astute reader and commentator, has not heard what we have done or is not sounding right enough, honestly, I'll take this up with the Nigerian Insurance Association, and we need to actually do more publicity to drive home the point and to let people know exactly what the insurance industry is doing at this point in time, because it's actually a lot, and that's the reality. So thank you very much for that point. Yes, you talked about the special business, which was originally meant to be mentioned. Well, the reality is that the special business was put in because, it was felt that we should come again to the shareholders to get an approval, which we actually have. We actually have a subsisting approval, which was about 2 years thereabout ago, to raise capital, which we didn't do. But we just thought, okay, let's bring it back again. But we have a subsisting approval. This is just to address that issue. In terms of representation of the minority shareholders, this is noted, like the chairperson has said. We've noted this. I would look into it. Mr. Sonunwosu, thank you very much. You've drawn our attention, to the double whammy that could befall, especially the nation Nigeria, that is oil dependent, and as well as the issue of COVID-19, because it's hitting this nation on both sides, and there is need for us as a company to ensure that we put everything necessary in place so that our shareholders and the company is not affected. In this regard, you've advised that we should look at our management expenses, and that is noted. You said we should be mindful of claims at a time like this, and you are very correct. It is when the environment is tough that insurance claims actually spike for various reasons. But that is noted. And management will be proactive in terms of its COVID pandemic strategy. I can tell you that we have a very robust business continuity plan, which we actually triggered before the closure by the president. We have a very robust COVID strategy plan that is in place, that has been approved by the board of directors. It's important to let you know that we are working around the clock to ensure that even the resumption on Monday, we have a strategy as to how we will resume, and all the steps that will be taken. So everything is being put in a document, and we are working it alongside with our existing business continuity plan. So with regards to survival of the organization, with regards to the safety of staff, with regards to safety of management, every single item with regards to those things are all documented, and they are being pursued one by one. So I want to thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, and I do hope I've been able to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, GMD. The next item on the agenda is the approval of dividend for the year ended December 31st, 2019, which will be taken as final dividend at this meeting. A total dividend of 45 kobo, out of which an interim dividend of 10 kobo had already been paid. Yes, Mr.
This item is part of the agenda. It's to be received either through voting or any other time, along with all other items.
I'm not following. Are you talking about the laying of the account? I'm not following you, Mr.
What is to receive. What we have here is to receive. Everything you are having there is for the proceeding. But the actual agenda of the meeting is the one we have. Once it is to receive, we have to vote along with every other because it's item 1.
The receiving of the annual report.
Yes.
Well, there is a section in the Companies and Allied Allied Matters Act. That is section 345, subsection 1.
That says what?
That says that the directors shall lay before the company in general meeting copies of the financial statements of the company.
That is the directors. The shareholders will approve. Next time, the company secretary should just write out to lay on the document with us. This is the document with us.
All right,
it's saying to receive. It doesn't take you any time.
Okay, just to say to lay. Okay, understood. Thank you, Mr. Onsu. Thank you for that observation. The next item on the agenda.
You are still going to the next
sorry,
item.
Okay. So, can we now? Thank you very much. Thank you. So I think we can proceed now. Thank you.
Very much, Chairman. I'd like to confirm that we received a total of 127 votes, totaling 3,649,082,304 units of shares, voting in favor of the audited account to be received today. We have no, we have one abstention. One shareholder abstained from approving the account, and the shareholdings for that one shareholder is 2,258,150 units. That's what the result we have for the audited account, to receive the audited account.
Okay. So it's carried. So it's a carried motion. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of So I've said that the motion is carried. Oh. Yes, I did say that. So maybe you didn't hear me. I did say that. The motion has been carried. The next item on the agenda is the approval of dividend for the year ended December 31, 2019, which will be taken as final dividend at this meeting. A total dividend of 45 kobo, out of which an interim dividend of 10 kobo had already been paid, and a final dividend of 35 kobo per share for the period ended December 31st, 2019, is now hereby proposed as final dividend. I hereby move that a dividend of 35 kobo on every 50 kobo share is hereby declared payable out of the profit of the company for the year ended December 31st, 2019. The holders of the shares whose names are registered in the register of members before its closure on April 2nd, 2020 will be entitled to this dividend. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Thank you.
Okay, the post result for dividend approval is that we have a total of 3,649,082,304 units of shares voting in favor of the approval of the dividend. We have no abstention, neither do we have any vote against. A total of 127 shareholders voted in favor.
Thank you, Registrars. I hereby declare that the motion has been carried unanimously. At this point, I will now delegate my duty as the chairman to the GMD, Mr. Wole Oshin, to conduct the next item on the agenda, which is the re-election of directors retiring by rotation, as I'm one of the directors who is up for re-election.
Thank you very much. Pursuant to Article 106 of the Articles of Association of the company, Dr. Mrs. Omobola Johnson and Mr. Richard Asabia will retire from office by rotation and, being eligible under the same articles, offer themselves for re-election. Reappointment of directors by separate resolutions. I hereby move that Dr. Mrs. Omobola Johnson, a director retiring in accordance with the Articles of Association of the company, be and is hereby reappointed a director of the company. Would someone please second the motion?
I, Matthew Akinlade, I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would Mrs. Johnson please rise to enable the director to see her? Thank you. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Okay.
Thank you. I hereby confirm that we received 127 proxies in respect of this motion, representing 3,649,082,304 units of shares, voting 100% in favor of the re-election of Dr. Mrs. Omobola Johnson. There was no vote against, neither was there a vote in abstention.
Thank you. I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. I hereby move that Mr. Richard Asabia, a director retiring by rotation in accordance with the Articles of Association of the company, be and is hereby reappointed a director of the company. Would someone please second the motion?
I, Adebayo Adetunji Adeleke, I rise to second the motion for the re-election of Mr. Asabia.
Can the registrar, please?
I hereby confirm that we received 127 proxies in respect of this re-election, representing 3,649,082,304 units of shares, but we only have 126 proxies voting in favor of this re-election. And the number of shares for this 126 shareholders is 3,646,824,154 units. We had one vote against, and the shares for the vote against is 2,258,150 units. There was no abstention.
Thank you. I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. I'll now hand over to the chairperson.
Thank you, GMD. We have now come to item 4 on the agenda. Following the completion of the tenure of the external auditors Ernst & Young, in line with the company's governance policy, the directors are hereby authorized to appoint a new external audit firm. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to appoint a new external audit firm. Would someone please second the motion?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I now put the motion to the meeting. Registrar.
Thank you, ma'am. We received a total of 127 proxies in respect of the appointment of new external auditors, which represents 3,649,082,304 units. Of the 127 proxies received, 126 proxies voted in favor of the appointment of the new external auditors, and the shares represented by this number is 3,646,824,154 units, while we had one vote against the re-election of the auditors, and this one vote represents 2,258,150 units of shares. There was no abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. We now move on to the authorization of directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors. Would someone please second this motion?
I so do, Mr. Chairman. I'm Adebayo Adetunji Adeleke.
Thank you, Mr. Adeleke. I now put the motion to the meeting.
Thank you. I confirm receiving 127 proxies in respect of the remuneration of the auditors, and this 127 proxies represent 3,649,082,304 units of shares. Of the 127 proxies received, 126 voted in favor of this resolution, and the number of shares for this 126 is 3,646,824,154 154 units. One proxy voted against the remuneration of the external auditors, and the number of shares for this vote against is 2,258,150 units of shares. There was no abstention.
Thank you. I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. We have now come to the election of members to the Audit Committee in compliance with Section 359, subsections 4 and 5 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004. The directors on their part nominated Mr. Richard Asabia, Mr. Ibrahim Diko, and Mr. Ravi Sharma as their representatives on the Audit Committee. Nominations were received from shareholders in respect of Mr. Olani Dada, Mrs. Titilayo Olujobi, Group Captain Bola Shotubo, retired. I hereby call for a vote to elect the 3 nominated shareholder representatives together. There be no other nominations to the Audit Committee. I hereby move that Mr. Olani Dada, Mrs. Titilayo Olujobi, and Group Captain Bola Shotubo, retired, are hereby elected as members of the Audit Committee. Would someone please second the motion?
Including
thank you. Including Mr. Richard Asabia, Mr. Ibrahim Diko, and Mr. Ravi Sharma being hereby elected as members of the Audit Committee. Would someone please second the motion?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mosu. I now put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their hands? Thank you. Would anyone objecting please signify by raising their hands? I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. Yes, Mr. Yes, Mr.
Outside agenda, but haven't looked at the way the voting pattern. I can understand me as a shareholder not wanting the company to pay auditors. But if as a shareholder I don't want the company to appoint an auditor, then it means that something is wrong. It's either I don't understand the business that I've invested in or some other reason. So I will want the company, preferably through the company secretary, to try and reach this investor. You may think it's not necessary, but the more we have investors who are informed as to what their investment position should be in terms of protection, the better for all of us. So I will ask that you please make, so that you can get to the bottom of, so why, because like I said, if it was voting that we shouldn't pay the auditor, I can understand. But if you don't have an auditor, then you don't have an account. Okay? So that's basically why I've raised that point of information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nona. The pattern was noted, and thank you for your suggestion. We will try and reach out and find out the reasons for that. Okay, I hereby declare that the motion to appoint the members of the Audit Committee has been carried. Thank you. Having now received the names of the representatives of the shareholders and those of the directors on the Audit Committee, I hereby declare that the following have been elected members of the Audit Committee for the year 2020. Mr. Olani Dada, Mrs. Titilayo Olujobi, Group Captain Bola Shotubo, retired, Mr. Richard Asabia, Mr. Ibrahim Diko, and Mr. Ravi Sharma. Thank you. Shareholders, auditors, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to thank you all very much on behalf of the directors and management of the company for attending this meeting and showing interest in the company's affairs. We are also grateful for the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Corporate Affairs Commission, and the registrars for sending their representatives to this meeting. Thank you all very much, and I ask that you stay safe and stay well. I now declare the meeting closed. Closing prayer. Sorry, closing prayer. Mr. Watson, could you please give us the closing prayer?
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Father, that you brought us safely here. You have given us the wisdom to conclude the AGM. We thank you, Father. We pray that going forward, there are a lot of challenges in all the business, that you will also be with us. You will enhance our knowledge with your grace to be able to move this company forward. The slogan of our company is exceeding expectations. Father, please endow the board and the management and staff the grace to be able to meet this expectation. As we are going to go, Father, we pray that you will guide us safely to our respective homes. Coronavirus will not be our portion in Jesus' name. Father, keep us safe wherever we are. This we ask through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.